We start with India versus China. Two neighbors caught in a bitter border standoff, which is now in its fourth year and becoming more tense. All signs point towards rising hostility. India is mobilizing more troops, 10,000 of them. They were stationed on the western border of India, presumably to guard against the threat from Pakistan. These troops are now being redeployed. They'll be stationed along the border with China. So an additional 10,000 troops at the LAC. Beijing has taken notice, and today it has issued a warning. China says India's increased deployments won't ease tensions.
India's strengthened military deployment in the China-Indian border area is not conducive to the efforts made by China and India to ease the border situation, nor is it conducive to the maintenance of peace and tranquility in the border area.
So China is trying to paint India as the aggressor, conveniently glossing over how this began. In this equation, India is not the aggressor. India's moves are not offensive. They're meant for defense. They're a reaction to China's expansionism. India has deployed soldiers because diplomacy is not working. These tensions erupted in 2020, and since then, Indian and Chinese generals have met 21 times. So 21 military-level dialogues and no solution. China has neither withdrawn troops nor shown any inclination to do so. Where does that leave India? With no option but to recalibrate its deployments, to strengthen its defenses and to prepare for the next Chinese provocation, because the provocation will keep coming. So how is India protecting its borders? It's taking a new approach. Increasing troop deployments is just one part of it. India has also built a new fighting command. It's like a combined fighting force with its own artillery and air support. Their assignment is clear-cut, guarding a specific part of the border with China. A 532-kilometer stretch, it separates Tibet from two Indian states, Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. But why this particular stretch? It's not clear. New Delhi remains tight-lipped as it practices a strategy of deterrence. As China lines up troops, India responds in kind, matching the scale and numbers. As China ramps up border infrastructure, India does the same. And when you connect these dots, you see the big picture. India is digging in for the long term. Because diplomacy can deliver only so much, especially with a sly customer like China. They only respect the language of strength. And their words do not match their actions. Since 2020, the main sticking points remain unresolved, especially these two friction points, Depsang Plains and Demchok. These are areas in eastern Ladakh. They remain a key source of tension. And China is making it worse by setting up blockades in areas like Kugrang Nala, Gogra Post, and Charding Nala. Fresh clashes have been reported as recently as November 2022, when the Chinese showed up at the Atari post. Indian forces pushed them back. More than 15 Chinese troops are said to have been injured on that day, and this happened even as military talks for disengagement were on. Clearly, China has not respected the process. And this has compelled India to seek stronger deterrence, which brings us to the question, what is the current state of deployment? Now, we don't really have the answer to that, because neither China nor India has shared the specifics. There are just reports, and they're often conflicting. One report says India has 50,000 troops on the China border. Another says there are well over 60,000 troops. Either way, India is adding more troops, and this indicates that the situation is precarious. Also, look at the statements of top leaders. S. Jaishankar is India's External Affairs Minister. He spoke about the border situation in January. He said, and I'm quoting, "Unless there is a firm solution, the forces will remain face to face." Yesterday, he gave an interview and he hinted that the border situation still remains a problem. The Indian Army has the same view. The Chief of the Northern Command described it thus. He said the border situation, and I'm quoting, "The situation is stable but not normal." And this was said 2 months ago. So it makes sense for India to be on its guard, to keep up its defenses and even add more troops.